Our country right now faces an inordinate threat to order by virtue of the fact that nothing that needs to be enforced and monitored is being watched. Like a child who's not watched or monitored by an adult, or anybody else for that matter, like a prison without walls, we have no means of enforcing our laws, our rules. We complain about it a lot. The media has done a wonderful job in allowing us and you and me to complain about things. And I've done a superb job in pointing out the problems that are associated with Fani Willis and others. But that's not what I want to do. I don't want to just point things out. I want them to be fixed, and I want them to be recognized. I heard someone today. I believe I'm hearing things from people who don't necessarily represent any particular world that I like or agree with, who are coming out of the woodwork in saying things that I'm finding myself agreeing with. There's a woman by the name of Katie Halper. She does a show. She, along with Aaron Mate, I think it's called The Useful Idiots or something. She does a lot of pro-Palestinian, for lack of a better word. I don't know. But she's considered, right, the bane of existence of whatever, because she tends to speak what many people think against Israel versus being pro-Palestinian. In any event, I happen to be listening, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, she says, I don't understand why there's all of this attention going after Trump, whatever he did, but nobody went after Iran-Contra. No, nobody went after anybody else. And that is the thing which I want you to focus on. This is so critical. People who do not normally agree with us politically are recognizing the fact that our system is beyond corrupt. And it's called lawfare. It's the utilization of a system of existing laws and jurisprudence to go after someone against the law, but within the framework of law. Let me give you an example. Let's assume I am a police officer and I follow you repeatedly and I give you speeding ticket after speeding ticket because you're speeding, and I catch you, and I have a machine, and I have a gun, a radar gun, and I'm showing you, look what you've done. This is what you did. But you're following me all the time. This goes against the spirit of the law. The spirit. This is the thing that I'm trying to tell you. It's corruption. And it doesn't do anybody any good for this person to say, but you don't understand. I'm doing exactly the right. I'm doing what needs to be done. But you're abusing the process. Why are you picking on me? Your target. This is called target prosecution. And to a lot of folks who, believe it or not, who are not in the biz, who are not skilled, who are not, I shouldn't say skilled, who are not taught this. Target prosecution is one of the worst things, one of the worst threats to civilization, because what you're doing is you're using the available forces, the available tools that are designed to allow you to go after the bad guys, and you're using them after one person to harass and humiliate and to stalk, and it's wrong. We're going to be talking about that and what you can do and what I have to do and how we have to keep going and keep screaming and yelling. But first, let me remind you, please subscribe to the channel. Please like this channel. Liking it does more to help us than you would ever imagine. Please also make sure you hit that little bell to be notified of live streams and new videos. And let me ask you right now, dear friend, to listen very, very carefully regarding one of the most important issues ever: emergency food. Let's talk about a very serious subject: emergency food. That's right, emergency food. Now, I know at first blush it's difficult for most people to think about something that they just take for granted, ever reaching, emergency status, we're used to stores always being open, deliveries always made, no supply chain disasters, no ransomware catastrophes, shutting down gas stations, no trucking strikes, no war, no protests from farmers, no mysterious Chinese weather balloons, nothing catastrophic in terms of weather. Well, that can't happen to us, right? And I understand it's a defense mechanism that we have because the idea of ever not being able to eat or locate food is seemingly incomprehensible to most people. But think about this. It's not. That's why it's time for you to go to my site, preparewithlionel.com. Preparewithlionel.com has the deal of deals for you. Take it as a starter set, an introduction set. You've been putting off emergency food for too long. Some people still have a thing about prepping as though prepping for emergency is foolish. Now, right now, you can save $200 on a 3-month emergency supply kit. This is unbelievable. 22 varieties with a 25-year shelf life, 25 years, 2,000 calories a day in 6 rugged buckets, 120 pounds of food. Could you go 3 months, 90 days if stores closed? Be honest. Could you go a week without any trips to the store? I don't think so. I'm not talking about having stuff in your cabinet. I'm not talking about banana chips and jerky. I'm talking about food, real food. So go right now to preparewithlionel.com. This moment, right now, preparewithlionel.com. Preparewithlionel.com. Go now and thank me later. If we lived in a world that was right, if we did the right thing, if we had the same kind of organization that the Democrats have, you would have seen cadres, absolute legions of movements to have Fani Willis in particular disbarred, sanctioned, penalized, disciplined. You would have had a cacophony of people demanding that she step down, demanding that she disqualify herself. And that would have thrown everything into a tailspin. Demanding this judge, saying, in fact, this judge already has an opponent. And one time, I don't know his name offhand, but I have been in debates with him. He's very, very dogged in his approach, very smart. But this judge is not necessarily doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing. He's doing nothing that's right or wrong. He is making a decision. But what we have right here and what we need to explain, what the Republicans or the constitutionalists have to understand is that when you allow somebody to do this and you see it and you just sit back and say, oh, well, there we go. There we go. I mean, I appreciate the fact. I appreciate the fact of what's going on here. But is anybody saying anything? Look at the amount of attention that is being focused on President Trump by Letitia James. Think about this. This is just personal. There were people just, and look, I listen, you know and I know, be honest. If you found out right now, breaking news, Hillary Clinton taken into custody by federal officials for bribery or violating Espionage Act. You know it. You would be beyond yourself. Am I right? Your jaw would drop. What? Hillary Clinton. In fact, let me ask you something. If you could, in your mind, and this is completely being petty, and I recognize it, or maybe it's not petty, I don't know, I'll let other people decide. But if there's one person, if I said, okay, I'm God, or I'm justice, or whoever I am, I'm going to give you the chance. Give me one name, one person, and I promise you, I will guarantee that they be indicted, arrested, and incarcerated for the longest period of time possible. Who would that be? Who would be your person? Who would be the person that one that you would say, this is the one that would make my life, make my day, if this and not somebody that you just don't like, but somebody that has been involved in absolute criminal conspiracies, breaking the law, who would it be? Who would be the person who's you would be the happiest? Our den mother, first of all, Lizzie Solak says Joe Biden. A ham sandwich. Edward Snowden. You want Ed Snowden to be prosecuted and put away? Interesting. Interesting. Bill Gates. Ooh, Jamie Raskin. Bill Gates. See, this is interesting. Barack Obama, Hillary. What about Klaus Schwab? What about George Soros? See, this tells me a lot about you. Are you more domestic or are you more international? Where do you believe is your level? Bush and Cheney. Interesting. You're obviously making a 9/11 connection. Jack Morris. I don't know who that is. Brennan and the Atlantic Council, the entire Atlantic Council, the Clintons, Soros for sure. Ed Snowden is a whistleblower who exposed our crooked government. You want Ed Snowden arrested? By the way, rumor has it, Rothschild. Which one? There's loads of them. Ed Snowden. You may, and I can argue the point, Ed Snowden is a journalist, or I think in many respects is a hero. Oh, I know. People say, what? Same thing with Julian Assange. Same thing with Julian Assange. This is the way this thing works. When somebody, and here's the problem. This is the thing which is the most problematic. When you find yourself in the position of being, you've taken an oath. You've taken an oath not to reveal certain things. But when you are in this position, you find out once and for all that what you are seeing is laws being broken, laws being destroyed, laws being utilized, and innocent people targeted. So what do? Do you maintain the provisions of your oath? Do you say, well, a promise is a promise? Or do you say, no, I'm a whistleblower? Daniel Ellsberg, what he did was he broke the law. He broke the conditions of working for the Rand Corporation. He said, I'm not going to be revealing this. And he did. Many still believe to this day that it was a limited hangout because most of what he said was already known. See, I don't know. I don't know. This is, let me explain something to you in a weird way. I understand why spies spy on us. I understand this. I understand why people from I understand why Xi Jinping and others, and whether it's Russia or France or Israel. Look at Jonathan Pollard. I know people spy. That's what we do. There's corporate spying. There's international. I kind of understand that. I'm sorry to say that I don't. I countenance that, but I kind of I understand it. I dig it. But there's something about an American that drives me crazy. But let me explain one thing about Hillary Clinton. And I always like to do it because I can't help it. It's the defense lawyer in me. If I represented Hillary Clinton, I would say to you and her and everybody, first of all, there is nothing you can do or claim that she did that was unfair or where she violated the law. She used that which was available. She did nothing against the law. She violated no law. Right now, in my humble opinion, the person that I can absolutely point to, because I do not know whether Soros has violated any law by merely proposing, what am I trying to say? Proposing, advancing the systems whereby he wants to fund, prosecutors who have a reformist edge. I don't think that's against the law. I believe he's an American citizen, I guess. That's not against the law. Sorry. You may dislike that. But Joe Biden, number one. Number two, Fani Willis. This is perjury. She's committing perjury, obstruction of justice. Look at what she's done. She's lied. Lied about we never had a relationship until 2022. That's a lie. She's lying. There's no degree of, well, it wasn't a big lie. What does that mean? There's no such thing as a big lie. It's just like battery. The common law charge of battery means the impermissible touching of another against their will. The touching doesn't have to hurt. Doesn't have to lend itself to, sutures and the like. No. Joe Biden is the crook's crook. Joe Biden is a gangster. Joe Biden couldn't even wait until he got out of office. And then there's Fani Willis. Fani Willis is the dupe, the fool, the rube, the chuff, the churl, the one that they got to do the dirty work for these people, the one who went to D.C. repeatedly and went after these folks for racketeering. A person, all they did, think about this, all they did was basically have the unmitigated audacity to challenge the election. Okay? That's exactly. And everybody, the folks, the Democrats were so good at this. They started the 65 Project. This was an organization where lawyers who went after, lawyers who propounded this idea that there were irregularities in the 2020 election. They were run out of court, run out of town, so to speak. They had bar complaints. They had to defend themselves constantly by people saying that they violated their ethical standards by bringing lawsuits against the system for just for doing nothing more than ensuring that their rights were maintained. But Joe Biden, no. Joe Biden is such a gangster, not a racketeer, a gangster. So he's a crook. He couldn't wait to even get out of office, and they pulled that son of his in. But nothing's going to happen with him. It's just not. Nothing. And when you have somebody like Fani Willis, you see, the thing that bothers me the most is there are people who just don't like her because of her arrogance. They just don't like her. Tish James, by the way, is doing things. She might be just as arrogant, but she's not. She doesn't act the same. And what she's doing is even worse. This is so unconstitutional. There is now a claim that they are using, believe it or not, the latest movement is an Eighth Amendment argument. Cruel and unusual punishment, bond, bail, excessive, if you will. They're using that against. Or they will try this in successive motions. Look at what they're doing right now. Fani Willis poses, see, people still don't get this. Fani Willis's racketeering case poses one of the most serious threats to Trump's liberty than anything you can imagine. They want him in prison. They want him in prison. We use these terms all the time about anti-Semitism and just anti-Trumpism. There are people who just despise him to levels I can't understand. And there's always been, there have been people who despised FDR. I remember them despising Bill Clinton. Remember Bill Clinton, he lost his law license, if I recall correctly. So did Hillary. What's also interesting is how, if I recall, didn't Barack Obama and Michelle surrender theirs? I don't know what the hell that was about. I have no earthly idea what the purpose of this. Why would you want to surrender it? But they got Bill because they claimed he committed perjury. This is Bill Clinton, the president. Fani Willis is the most dangerous person because you know why? She feels like she got away with it and she feels vindicated. And nobody, I promise you, if this were any other situation, she would have been waylaid by a series, by group after group after group, where the Georgia bar examiners or bar association or the Supreme Court of Georgia, however that particular jurisdiction is, sometimes it's the court, sometimes it's a separate uh, agency that does the disciplinary investigations and the like. They would have been overwhelmed, waylaid by case after case, claim after claim. They would have said, we got to do something. Marching, social media company, everybody going on TV, saturating Fox News, but they're not doing it. They're not doing it. She lied. Let me tell you this again. There's no such thing as, well, you lied a little bit. It was a big lie, little lie. It was a fib, a white lie. Doesn't matter. If you lie under oath, if you also make a series of inconsistent statements under oath regarding a material issue in fact, that's it. That's all it is. That's all it is. And when you are in a hearing and the issue is, when did you begin this relationship? Now, remember what I'm telling you. And you're going to say, wait a minute, what? I've told you. In my opinion, she could have appointed her husband had she been married. She did not commit conflict of interest or forensic corruption. That's not it. It was the lying and the obstruction of justice and the witness tampering. That came later. You see what's it? Let me explain this to you. I told you I love watching this. You can watch these videos on TV. Somebody's pulled over for some seemingly innocuous tag violation or whatever. The person behind the wheel is maybe drunk or maybe obstinate or maybe crazy, screams and yells at the police officer, screams and yells and says, how dare you? I know my rights. You can't. Oh, really? You can't touch me. You can't blah, 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 blah. Okay? That's what they say. That's what they will say. You can't do this. I know my rights. I know. I know. And then they push a cop. Now they hit battering a Leo, battering a law enforcement officer, obstruction of justice. Now it's a felony. Now we have 2 counts. And if later on it gets worse and multiple counts, and then there's, I mean, it just gets, because what happened was, so when they're doing time in prison or they're doing 10 years probation, and somebody asks them, what are you in for? And they say, well, I had a tag violation. No, you didn't. You're not in prison because you had a license tag violation. You're in prison because of the fact that you hit a cop afterwards. It's the afterwards. That's the Fani Willis part. It's not what she did. It's not having a boyfriend. That's the thing that people keep missing. That's irrelevant. When did it start? Did you know it? Were they kissing each other? Were they hugging? Well, what relevance of that is that? Well, it shows a conflict of interest. No, that's not what's relevant. What's relevant is that this shows that she was lying when she said it wasn't until 2022. Unless that's a relationship. Another thing too is I don't even know what does it mean to have a relationship? What does that mean? When does a relationship start? Do you have to have sex to have a relationship? Do you have to go on dates? You have to tell people to call each other boyfriend and girlfriend? Do you give each other a promise ring? What is this even? I don't even know. I don't know what it means. But when she says nothing, I did not have a relationship until 2022, and you've got Yurdi and others saying, no, this is 2019. What are you talking about? And when you've got Terrence Bradley, and when you've got Wade, and it's compounding, and the ultimate is if you, how do I say this? If you dare, dare, dare threaten, intimidate a witness in a case, I don't understand this. Imagine you are bringing charges against a police officer, and the police officer comes to you and says, they're after us. You don't have to say anything. You know that, don't you? Are you kidding me? So when everybody was circling the wagons, when they found out that motions were being filed, when Fanny's going out to AME churches and black churches and saying it, and by the way, that she never mentioned Trump per se, but you know what it is. You know what it is. It's almost like circumstantial evidence. You don't have to come out and say something. When you are the part of the biggest case and you're saying they're coming after me because I'm a black woman, do you have to use the word Donald Trump? No. You've got so much information there, so much that the local bar examiners, the licensing agency, they can go crazy. Perjury, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and violating rules would say you cannot go out and taint and poison juries. That's a weird kind of an expression. There's a fellow in Polk County, Florida, Lakeland, named Grady Judd. He is the sheriff, and they love him. He does one of the best press conferences ever. And he goes after people who hurt kids, and he's really funny, and he's good. He's great. He's terrific. So when he does his thing, when they see him and they go after him and they see his stuff, the first thing I would do if I represented any of the people that he has up there, any of the ones, he's got pictures of them, he has their photos blown up, he's got them on the lectern, he does this. We got this one, and it's normally about trafficking. The very first thing I would do is to put up something that says you cannot, change of venue, whatever, get this out of there. You basically told everybody my client was guilty. You put him on national TV and social media because you're so famous being Grady Judd that you violated this. Now, it's not against the law, but if you don't think that might be a ground for perhaps changing a venue, I don't know what does. I don't know what does. Why don't you just tell people he's guilty? I've got the sheriff going out. The guy hasn't even been to an arraignment yet. And already you're blasting him? Innocent until proven guilty, my ass. What are you doing? It's just like, I don't know about you, but they would have pictures of John list, people who were arrested for soliciting prostitution. They put their pictures up. That was horrible. What about the cases that are dismissed? What about the cases where they're, oops, sorry, wrong name? No. No, you don't do that. It may sound fun because you are not convicted yet. Remember Joe Arpaio? Everybody loves Joe Arpaio, right? Oh, Joe Arpaio was a lunatic. And one of the things he did was he forgot that he was a sheriff, Maricopa County. And he would have people in prisons. He'd make them wear pink underwear and eat rotten bologna. They weren't sentenced to anything. They were presumed innocent. They were merely in jail because they couldn't make the bond, or no bond was set, or whatever. This was horrible. They were confusing jail with prison. They had never been sentenced for anything. I'm saying, what is the matter? Oh, I love Joe Arpaio. Well, he's like Grady Judd. Wait a minute. They haven't been convicted of anything. You can't do that. You can't start punishing people unless the punishment, by the way, if you're sentenced to a misdemeanor, you do your time in county jail. This is the most sensitive thing I've ever seen. It's unbelievable. Anyway, dear friends, do me a favor, please Listen very carefully to, speaking of great Americans, listen very, 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 very kindly to our dear friend, the one, the only, the inimitable, the ineffable, Mike Lindell, who brought us and brings us this wonderful thing called MyPillow. Don't forget mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. Well, it's time yet again to hail and salute our great friends at mypillow.com. And if you use promo code Lionel, you get a free gift. No purchase necessary. I know, a free gift. Gifts are free. Okay, it's a tautology, so sue me. But listen to me and listen carefully. What are we talking about here? Down comforters, flannel sheets, Giza Dream bed sheets, My Pillow 2.0 body pillows, waffle blankets, couch and recliner pillows, sheets, slippers, percales. I'm not even done yet. Towels, quilts, bedspreads, mattresses, mattress covers, mattress toppers, linens, kitchen towels, bathrobes, pet blankets, bolster pillows, name it. Items to help you luxuriate and relax. And their monster sellers, slippers, my slippers, slip-ons, moccasins. Think about it. What do they do at My Pillow? What's their main goal? To make things real soft, plush, real comfy, or comfy as I say it. How perfect. So here's the link right now. Go to mypillow.com/Lionel. mypillow.com, promo code Lionel or /Lionel, or call 800-645-4965. 800-645-4965. And watch how fast our good friend Mike Lindell answers the phone. mypillow.com, promo code Lionel, simply and absolutely the best. Here's a question. I like this. What does your rant about Joe Arpaio have to do with Fani Willis? Okay, let me try this again. Let me try it again. One of the claims that people are having against Fani Willis is that when she went out as the DA, speaking before black churches and talking about how this black woman, this proud woman cannot get a day and, cannot be treated fairly because she says this is an assault of this black proud woman. She is doing a lot of things up to and including tainting, as people say, contaminating a potential jury pool. Not to mention there are specific limitations as to what she can't say before a trial, bringing publicity to a case. You're supposed to, there's certain things, certain parameters. A defense lawyer should be able to talk about what his case is about, but it's one thing to try it in the court of public opinion, all right? Joe Arpaio was a sadist. Joe Arpaio loved to take people who, by the way, had not been convicted of anything. Let me say this again. Not convicted of anything. They were arrested. That's not convicted. You know how many people are arrested and found not guilty or the charges are dismissed? But he wanted to get the publicity. So he basically went and he decided, I'm going to make these people suffer. He made them wear pink underwear. Remember that? Pink underwear? And served them moldy bologna. And he said, well, if soldiers in the military don't get better food, why should prisoners? Because the prisoners haven't been convicted of anything. You don't know anything about this. Well, and again, I'm trying to tell people, do you understand that? No. Do you understand presumption of innocence? No. Do you understand that they haven't been convicted, that you're basically penalizing them for your own political gain because you're a jailer? This is like you working at the security or the, a lot of airports and stadiums have police, security rooms, holding cells, That's like you starting to sentence them or torture them. They're just being held. But you're Joe Arpaio. And people loved him. He was sadistic. Oh, I love Joe Arpaio. I don't give a damn whether you love him or not. What he's doing is wrong. Now, Grady Judd in Lakeland is terrific. But one of these days, Grady Judd is going to have a case taken out of Polk County because he did such a wonderful job that this guy, they couldn't wait to get him. Grady Judd is telling people, and this is what happened. And then when we pulled him over, he said this and he said that. Well, what if those statements are suppressed later on? What if they were made in violation of Miranda? Grady Judd just basically told everybody, here's the facts of the cases. And when this son of a bitch gets on the stand and says, I'm telling you right now, this is what happened. They found a severed head in the bathroom. And blah, blah, blah. What if all of that information was suppressed? I know most people say, I don't care. I don't care. Well, what if it's President Trump? Oh, that's different. Now, he deserves the Fourth Amendment. He deserves the constitutional right, but not these people. And that's what these people, these cowboys like Joe Arpaio did. It's fun, but how do I explain to Americans, do you know what a jail is? A jail is for people who are being held either awaiting trial, presumed innocent, or they've been sentenced to a misdemeanor. And if you're sentenced to a misdemeanor, you go to county jail. But people don't care about this because our sense of civics, people don't know the rudiments. They don't know jail versus prison, presumption of innocence, Fifth Amendment, nothing unless it's Trump. And I may use this as an example to say, I'm with you, but you can't say, okay, Trump is different, but did any of you, and I know, listen, I think Trump, did any of you see the incredible interview with Jared Kushner regarding Gaza? Did you see this? Did anybody see this? This is the most horrific thing. I can't believe somebody can be that stupid. Raul Rodriguez says, according to the Eighth Amendment, is Trump fines and bail excessive? That's what they're going to be claiming. Because it's almost like there's if you read it, and this is what I'm hearing and they're saying, you're going to be claiming that there's the Eighth Amendment says, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Now, let me ask you something. What is a cruel and unusual punishment? What is it? What is it? What does that mean? During the nascent period of our country, where our good friend Nino Scalia was talking about, the original intent, they used thumb screws. They hanged people for virtually everything. Everything. Felonies, hang them. Okay? This might be it. The problem is that in this case right now, the law provides the opportunity for the judge to rule. Did the judge act incorrectly? Did the judge act beyond the realm of the statute? I don't know. It's this stupid law that was on the books that nobody really knew about, or nobody cared about until now. That's the thing. That's the part. So I've just got to understand, you got to, let me go back on this Jared Kushner thing. Please tell me, make sure you see this. He was talking about Gaza as one day it might be a really good kind of a waterfront community. He's talking about like developing Gaza. And he talks about them as saying, well, I don't know if there's any, if there's any concept of Gaza, if there's any concept. This is 4,000 years ago, whatever, the time of Pompey and Alexander the Great. I mean, you've got to see this. And you got to ask yourself, does Trump have any idea of what this idiot is saying? Does he have any idea? It's the most incredible thing I've ever heard in my life. Now, let me explain something to you. And I think you already know this. You can love Trump all you want, or you can like Joe Arpaio. If they violate the law, what does that say about you? Well, I like the laws sometimes. But if I I don't care whether you like him or not. If what he's doing is wrong, do you speak up? Well, maybe. I don't know. Because I like him so much. And that's who Americans are. Do we like you? Or do you dislike people and not able to realize that what they're doing is correct? See, I don't have any, I don't dislike Letitia James. She is able to do this. She's not doing anything illegal. It may be excessive. Fani Willis has broken the law. She's broken the law. This is perjury. And if somebody follows through, there's at least a probable cause, prima facie evidence of her basically violating. This is witness tampering and the like. So I don't really care one way or the other. I've heard people, some of the boldest and bravest people who despise Trump, despise him, but are saying, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And there are people who are absolute lefties, radical left lunatics, who are saying that what Biden is doing regarding Gaza is wrong. That's what I like. That's guts. You don't like people say, I like Joe Biden. I like him. I don't care what he does, but it doesn't matter. I like him. That's the scariest thing. Or somebody who says, I don't like Trump, and there's a level of unsophistication here that I hope to one day rid. I hope to God we can rid this when it comes to politics. You could say, okay, let me just tell you who I think is funny or whatever it is. Great. That's great. But then you got to say, okay, now that I've said that, let's talk about the application of law and the Constitution. This is what I think about that. And I know you're absolutely 100% able to do that. I am not going to fall prey to this where I like somebody. Trump does some stuff that's so stupid, and he does things that are brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Barack Obama did some of the best stuff when he said, I'm not going to go to war with Syria. And what he did was, by the way, what he did, people now are giving him a hard time, but he basically told Bibi Netanyahu, I'm the president of the United States. What Bibi did by appearing before Congress, you should have been, that was such a slap in the face against any president. But I know people say, well, because it was Barack Obama, I don't care. Excuse me, you came to our country and did that? You show respect for our system. That's our president. That's not Barack Obama. That's the Article 2 leader, so to speak, the Article 2 participant in our Constitution. Politics is too personal to people. It's too Fox News. It's too, Newsmax. And that's great and everything. And I appreciate that. But Look at this. Newsom and Kushner, 24. Well, no, it's going to be Newsom and Whitmer in 24. It's going to be Gretchen Whitmer. Sparky, I kind of thought of you. When I heard Gavin Newsom suggest, I even wrote it down today. I could not believe what I was hearing. Talk about beachfront property. It was the most incredible thing I've ever heard in my life. I've got it right here. He said, and if they use the monies from tunnels instead of, what? They're blaming people. Well, and he said, I don't really care. He goes, Gaza is a construct. He says, and for whatever reason, there's refugees. For whatever reasons? What about the antiquities destroyed from the 6th and 7th centuries? Did you hear that one? He doesn't care. It's almost like a psychopath. We saw the same thing in Iraq. I don't like him, but what I'm saying has something to do with whether I like him or not. My personal feelings, I don't know who these people are. Don't fall into that Fox News thing. Oh, he's cool. He's great. I love him. He's great. Remember, they work for me. They work for me. And if you've got let me say this again. If you've got a hot dog, this sadist named Joe Arpaio, who's punishing people merely for, I don't care what you're holding them for. I don't care if you arrest them at the border for coming in. They haven't been convicted or anything just because you caught them doing something. That's not the way we work. There are people who have confessed to crimes. They're still suspects. They're still not convicted. Well, it doesn't matter to me. They're guilty. No, it doesn't work like that. Listen, you can turn your back on the Constitution. That's your business. I'm not doing this. I'm one of the few who swore to uphold it. Think about that one. All right, dear friends, have a great and a glorious night. Thank you so much. Sparky and Raul Rodriguez, your kindness has not been overlooked. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. For our usual morning version of this thing of ours. And until then, my friends, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you.